Hey, you'll have to excuse me for the lack of uploads recently. I've been having a lot of hot dates with your mother. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. You'll have to excuse the lack of uploads recently. As you saw in Fizz to Fathom Carson House, if you watch that video, you'll notice that my neighbours have been doing a lot of work next door because they recently moved in.
My son likes mustard. I came here looking for it.
I can't find it.
Hello? Which means, there's been a lot of noise, and I haven't found time to really record, because I don't want a bunch of background noise of people banging. No, not as in people bang, I mean like banging against walls, and let's just move on. So yes, this is going to be another, I don't want to say the word review, because I'm not really reviewing, I'm just giving like a brief overview of things that I liked and disliked about a film recently. But it's whatever. Last time I, had a look at FNAF 2. Now this time, we're looking at 28 years later, The Bone Temple. I was about to say the long-awaited sequel of 28 years later, but it's literally not been that long. Because they filmed both films back to back, 28 years later and The Bone Temple. They can't, it was a very short release window, let's put it that way. So the other week, I was like really looking forward to this film. I was like, I want to go watch it. I was gonna go watch it by myself, but I didn't want to, so I instead treated my parents to come with me. They like the 28 later series, but not as much as me, but I dragged them along anyway. Even got them in the deluxe suite of Odeon, 40 quid for 3 tickets, which isn't really that bad, but it's still like, wow, that's a lot. Now going into this film, I really did not know what I was heading in for, really. Like, it was not as cryptic as the marketing for the first film. And to be fair, there was not even that much marketing for this film, actually. Now that I think about it, there was not that much. The Rage Leaks website was still up and running and doing its thing. But honestly, the marketing was not as strong for this film. And I feel like this film is being not overlooked, but just not being like acknowledged, because I don't think people know it's actually out. Because usually we're so used nowadays to like long windows between series and films releasing. So, like, I don't think anyone knew this was coming out. I think a lot of people just thought this was, like, DLC. Like, it's not. It's a completely full sequel and continuation of the story set up in the first film. But, yeah, if you haven't seen it, or you barely know anything about it, please go see it. It is, I'm going to put it out here, it's a fascinating film. Now, I have not used the word fascinating to describe a film, I don't think ever in my life, but I was genuinely fascinated with this movie. Now, 28 years later, the first one is going to get very confusing very quickly. I loved that film's style. I think that is probably the most stylish film I've ever watched when it comes to the camera work and the symbolism behind everything. Every shot in that film had a very, very intentional purpose. I loved it. It was great. Now, I've always found the 28 series zombies, the Rage virus infected, the most fascinating and scariest zombie type in media, period. I think they are the scariest. Maybe a close second is probably Last of Us. But the thing is, the biology behind it is so interesting, I've always found. And because, like, again, they're not dead. I think initially the Rage virus started off as a Rage inhibitor, or they were trying to make a Rage inhibitor so people didn't feel such anger. But then it obviously mutated and made everyone... it became a complete opposite of an inhibitor. It made everyone completely rageful. But the biology and the savagery of the virus itself was just so fascinating to me all the time. Like one drop of blood in your eye, or saliva in your eye, your mouth, like an open wound, you're fucked within 20 to 30 seconds. You turn so quickly, and you know, they vomit up blood. Their body's like constantly pumping adrenaline. And what I loved about the Bone Temple, I'm actually going to get into the Bone Temple now. I spent a long time overviewing the whole series. The Bone Temple is my favourite when it comes to explaining and looking into the biology and psychology of the infected. And there was one line in the trailers from Dr. Kelson that I was really looking forward to see explored in the film. It was the line, "What do the infected see when they attack people?" And I'm like, yes, I'd love to see that, because again, there's like a certain level of consciousness with the infected. They're not dead. They're not dead. They are still human. They can still be dispatched in normal means, like a good old hit to the head or a shot to the stomach or something, they'll go down because they are human. And when 28 years later, again, going back to the first movie of this series, it was probably the biggest difference between Weeks and Days. The Weeks and Days films had the very similar Infected, but these ones, in years, they eat, they drink, they sleep, they rest, they have a hierarchy with the alpha, and all that, and they feel a lot more like cave people in a way. Like that scene in the first film with them around the tree and they're all there hooting and hollering, it sounded like cave people. I'm going to go into full-on spoilers now, by the way, so if you haven't seen it yet, click off immediately. So starting off with the film, we heard like Cillian Murphy's character Jim from 28 Days Later saying hello when he was in that church scene. Now from that point onward, I kind of knew Cillian Murphy was going to appear, which he did at the end of the film. Like, why else would they have put that line in the beginning? Like, come on, seriously. But anyway, we open up with Spike with the Jimmy Savile cult. Now, fuck's sake. So Jimmy Savile, for anyone who doesn't know, is probably the most notorious paedophile in British history. He was a TV presenter and not the greatest guy behind closed doors. He was a big fat nonce. And you see a lot of Americans, a lot of people overseas who don't know a lot about British media, and a lot of these people have been going into the cinema on premieres of 28 years later, dressed up as Jimmy Savile. Guys, you're dressing him as a paedophile. I know you're like, oh, it's the villain of the film. No, it's Jimmy Savile. Don't do that. Now, the Jimmy Savile cult, or the Jimmy Crystal cult, I should really say, is possibly the most brutal and the most intimidating villains I've seen in a long time in any piece of media. They are genuinely horrifying to see on screen. But honestly, I can't help but just carry on watching them because they're fascinating to watch on screen. I like, they're brutal. They are so intimidating, but I have to watch them because every single one of those cult members, I think, puts in a very great performance, especially Jimmy Crystal, the main guy. I can't remember his actor's name. I can't think of it. Yeah, Spike. Not doing so great. He's with all those people, and he's a bit scared. But this cult's like premise is delivering charity, so delivering souls to hell, basically, because the main Jimmy thinks he's the son of the devil. So he's kind of crazy. But after Spike gets lucky and kills one of them, or one of the fingers, I should say, he becomes one of them because that's how the hierarchy works. If you manage to kill one of them, you get to join the club. Until someone kills you later down the line to take your place. So yeah, it's a great system they got going there. Now, what I was expecting us to see more of Spike's home on the Holy Island with his dad. But throughout the whole film, we didn't see them. I really thought they were going to bounce between them again, but no, we did not. We did not see Jamie, the baby Isla, named after Spike's mum, or the leader of the Holy Island. We literally didn't see any of them, which is kind of cool because honestly it kind of helps us get into Spike's sort of mentality and his like position, because he hasn't seen those people in ages as well, so kind of crazy. But then we cut to Ian Kelson, which I want to say he was probably, I'd say he's the protagonist of this film. Ian Kelson, I really thought it was going to be Spike the whole time, but really he is the main character here. It follows along with him a lot, and Ian Kelson was great in the first film, don't get me wrong, but I really warmed to him in this one. He was a really good character throughout the whole thing. Loved him. And here's when we start to get into the whole infected biology and psychology business, which I was gushing about for the first like 5 minutes of this video. Samson, the alpha. Again, honestly, surprisingly, I've never warmed to a zombie in a piece of media. I actually really warmed to Samson as a character. They managed to give a rage-infected a character that you actually kind of liked. It was so funny seeing him and Ian on screen together, interacting and just sitting down together. So basically the premise is Samson's coming back again because, I mean, I think he is the father of that baby, right? Like, I think that was implied in the first film. He is the father of the Isla, who was born from that infected woman. So obviously he's always pissed off because he's a rage-infected and all that. And he's coming back to Ian Kelson. And Ian has was taking the infected lady who was pregnant's body away from the train, and obviously Samson saw that. He wasn't very happy. And then obviously Ian used his blow dart with that like morphine stuff in there, and we kind of see Samson hesitate, and Ian's like, "What the fuck? Why is he hesitating?" Rage infected do not have self-preservation much; they just eat, drink, and sleep. But if they see someone, they're charging no matter what. But Samson, he's like, "No." But then when he puts it away, it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna come towards you." No. I like it. It shows a bit more thought behind the infected's eyes. And we learn throughout the film. I'm gonna skip around like I did with the FNAF 2 review, by the way. This is just me rambling. You have to forgive me. And we learn that Samson's coming back just for that morphine or that relief, because the adrenaline and the infections all over the infected's bodies, because they got these open wounds. They don't treat them. They don't look after themselves. And like Samson's still got arrows from him from when Spike fired into him. So like they go, Samson goes to Ian for the relief, from the morphine to like calm his body down, because they're constantly pumping adrenaline through their bodies. Their muscles are constantly like tense and ready to go. It must be painful. And Samson, like, he's being conditioned like a dog. Like we're talking like Pavlov's dogs here. If any of you do psychology out there, I did a psychology A level. I know what I'm talking about. That morphine stuff is pretty strong, because Ian managed to actually help Samson pull the arrows out. And I gotta say, the fucking shit nuts on Ian to go up this close to an infected is wild. Speaking of nuts, by the way, you do actually get to see Ralph Fiennes' penis. I just want to put this out there. I don't think I've seen a movie series with so much knob in it. Like 28 Days Later had the fucking Cillian Murphy's knob. Years later in Bone Temple had a bunch of knob in it as well. Samson, he's packing a fucking chopper. That thing could take down a fucking building. Like, it's fucking huge. But I mean, like, it makes sense though, because the rage virus is like a steroid. It enhances growth, especially for alphas. So I should get infected by rage. I might be able to get a bigger cock. But then it becomes like 28 years later, when it became a bit of a comedy with Eric's character, the Swedish soldier. It kind of becomes a bit of a comedy best friend story with Ian and Samson. They bond a lot. They even like sit down and Ian talks to him, and there's some pretty funny jokes during this whole little like sequence. And like fucking Ian going, "Don't worry, I'm NHS. I won't charge you." Like stuff like that. It's usually with these sorts of films, it'll be like, oh, comedy and a zombie film. I want it to be scary and grounded. But honestly, it works for this series and Ian's character so well. Weirdly, like it never goes too far, or it never gets too much. Like people in the cinema, and me included, were laughing at some of these parts, because it was genuinely sort of wholesome and funny to see these two characters who should never be interacting like this interact like it, and they made it make sense. Now, a different person directed this film, Nia DaCosta. Her directing was good. I'm not saying it's bad here. I'm just going to point it out real quick. It was not as stylistic or stylized as the first film. It was not as experimental as the first movie, which, again, I don't have a problem with. It's a different way of directing. But, yeah, I just want to put that out there as well. It's not going to be as experimental with its shots as years later. But at one point, Ian took a big risk, and he just knocked himself out with the morphine shot as well. He relaxed with Samson, which I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you taking that risk? But it works with Ian's character. He's a doctor. He wants to understand the infected more. So he's like, fuck it. Fuck around and find out, I guess. But then he wakes up and Samson's gone. He left him peacefully. Samson didn't attack him in his sleep, when usually he 100% would have if it was any other infected. And Ian's like, fuck yes. There's a chance here that me and him are becoming friends and they're not going to be attacking each other. Anyway, we'll go to a... Oh, is it my favourite scene in the film? It's definitely up there. Yeah, this scene finally shows a transformation to an enraged infected. Because the only... I didn't have many gripes 28 years later, but the only biggest gripe I had was they didn't show a transformation. What's that about? The rage infected, or the 28 days infected, the transformations when you turn into one is quite possibly the scariest thing about them. You feel like you're burning up, you're vomiting blood, you're bleeding from the eyes, nose, you're just going crazy, alright? Like your body's pumping adrenaline, and yeah, it's a very uncomfortable thing to watch, but also you have to watch it. It's just like, whoa. Because you imagine yourself in that situation. It's like, oh my god, that'd be awful. You see these three people scouting around in the woods, and this one bearded bloke's like, hey, I'm going to take this risk and kill this infected for some reason. Kind of stupid. I kind of get why he did it, but I also kind of don't. Like, he said, it'll scream if it sees us. Well, don't let it see you then. Don't go up and take a risk and attack it. But he does. A twig snaps, and he kills it, and some more come up to him. And I already knew, like, he was going to die. Because they showed it in the trailer, actually. They showed him turning into one, so I was like, you know, he's going to die anyway. So the other two, they began running away, and he's like, don't leave me here. It's actually quite a scary scene to watch. He managed to kill another one, and then stab another one, but then, again, just like that, one drop of blood. The zombie, like, spits a bunch of blood at him into his face, and from then on, he's fucked. He starts vomiting profusely, like, with blood. And it's just like, oh god, but it's also like, oh yes, that shit's cool, but also really uncomfortable to watch. And he like starts roaring into the sky with blood running out his eyes. I'm like, oh yes, finally a transformation scene. That is probably my most favourite part about the rage infected. How you get infected is scary. Just one drop of blood, you're fucked. But anyway, these two make it back to their little sanctuary with the thing, and we knew what was coming here because again, the trailer kind of showed it. The Jimmy cult are in their house. And again, the Jimmy cult, fascinating to watch on screen. Absolutely fascinating. The lady was like, are you going to leave? Jimmy Crystal's like, yeah, sure, if you want us to. Because, like, he sounded quite polite. He was like, oh, I'm sorry for intruding. But then, we're going to kill you first, though, before we leave. Then it all goes downhill. They start fighting. They start doing all that. And then we lead into quite possibly the most disturbingly violent scene in a film I've ever watched. I'm not bad with blood, in real life or in movies, or with gore in general. Like, I don't want to sound like proper, oh, I'm edgy. It's never bothered me much. But what they do to these people is downright horrific. It's fucking horrible to watch. It is genuinely horrible. Like, ew. God, can I even describe this on YouTube? They string them up, and after Jimmy does his whole prayer and whatever, it's like, we're delivering charity to old Nick, who is Satan, who is his dad, apparently. It's like, we're gonna kill you now, but trust me, this is charity. So, they remove the skin off their, like, torsos, and, like, carve letters into their stomachs. And it's just like, what the fuck, man? And it went on for an uncomfortably long time. And, oh god, even thinking about it just made me cringe. But as all that's going down, Spike can't handle it. He throws her outside. Jimmy's like, yo, fix up. Otherwise, I'm going to kill you as well. And, yeah, because they have to torture everyone to be part of the cult. So, poor Spike. Spike really goes through it in these films. He just wants to go home, probably. So yeah, then we follow the other Jimmy who's wearing a red shirt. She goes along, kills that infected who was turned into one earlier. And she finds Samson and Ian dancing. Yeah, so she's like, to fuck? How? And she immediately assumes like, oh shit, it's Jimmy Crystal's dad. It's old Nick. Because obviously Ian's covered in iodine, so like he looks orange because the rage virus gets like, it just doesn't like iodine for some reason. I can't remember the exact reason he gave. And he's just listening to music, dancing with Samson, because Samson in his like morphine opioid sort of state. So she goes back and is like, yo, we need to tell Jimmy Crystal about this, because that's his dad, bro, in a bone temple. Back to the torture scene. Jimmy's leaves one last guy left and is like, alright, listen, I'll give you a choice here, buddy. If you kill one of my fingers, one of my people, you can be one of us, so we won't kill you. And honestly, completely understandable. He takes the deal. It's like, yes, because he sees the rest of his friends along there with their torsos removed. It's like, yeah, who in their right mind wouldn't take that? I know they're evil people, but you would. It's like, you're up there, like, oh shit, if I don't hit this deal, I'm gonna get fucking degloved. So he takes the deal. And then he chooses the weakest looking Jimmy, not Spike. I thought he was going to pick Spike, but Spike wasn't actually in the room, which is probably a good thing, because Spike would definitely have been killed. But this weakest one was not fucking weak. She was very, very scary. So, another uncomfortable violent scene. Takes his arm and just cuts down there with a knife. Down his wrist. And that was possibly the worst scene for me. I actually at one point just went like this. I can't look at that. Anything involving wrists, it's just like, ew, no, don't do that. And he gets beaten the shit out of. Like, he gets, like, stabbed. He gets punched. He gets thrown onto the floor. It's just very uncomfortable. They're all laughing at him as he's, like, dying and close to death. And as she's about to do the final blow and get rid of him entirely, we cut to Spike and that red shirt woman saying, like, going to Spike and going, listen, you need to, like, man up, otherwise Jimmy will kill you. And so they kind of form a bit of a bond. They kind of sit together. And then we cut back again, and the ginger woman from before, who was pregnant, who was the only one who escaped out of that whole house group, she just chucks a hook down into the creepy Jimmy girl's skull. And that is also horrific, because it hits a certain part of her brain where she can still speak, and she is still, like, sort of conscious, like, oh, this isn't good. And she's just got a fucking hook in it. I don't know how she got that much momentum to get a hook like that into her head. But fair enough. By the way, the people who are still strung up, by the way, are still alive. I forgot to mention that part with their fucking torso skin removed. They're like, yo, dude who's on the floor, who was part of us, get that propane tank. And he just lights up the whole place. I don't know how he managed to ignite it. I don't know if I missed something. But he just let the gas out and then it started igniting immediately. Like, where did the spark come from? I don't know. So yeah, pregnant lady escapes. She runs away as all that's going down. They're getting set on fire. More of the Jimmies get burnt alive. That's also very uncomfortable to watch. Their skin's, like, melting off. Jimmy Crystal ain't very happy. He's like, yo, Spike, catch that pregnant lady. And I thought it was going to go the way of... I thought he was going to make Spike cut the baby out of her stomach. I know that sounds fucked up, but I thought that's the way it was going to go. And I was like, they can't do that, surely. Thankfully, they didn't. Spike's like, no, take me with you. And then the ginger girl, fair play to her, she just punched in the stomach, like, I am not taking you with me. You just killed my entire fucking family, you prick. I mean, he didn't do it, but his crew did. Jimmy's like, yo, fuck you. Why'd you let her go? Because, like, Spike lies and says, oh, I killed her. No, you didn't, did you? So, yeah, then Spike's technically taken, like, prisoner. And before he's about to be executed, like, the red shirt is like, yo, your dad's here, old Nick. And then Jimmy's like, what? So they scout out of Ian Kelson's place. And Jimmy makes a deal, like, yeah, I'm going to go down there and make sure everything's all good. You guys stay up here. Because obviously, Jimmy's crazy. And he actually does start to believe that's his dad. Because, he believes he's the son of Satan. So after Ian and Jimmy meet, finally, in the Bone Temple, Ian's like, yo, I'm not Satan, I'm not your dad. That sort of shit, obviously. And it was honestly quite a, again, funny scene for them talking, because it was, like, oddly, like, civilized. It was, like, a perfectly civilized conversation between two people. And then Jimmy's like, yo, those people I need to convince that you're my dad, otherwise they won't follow me anymore. So you need to, like, be Satan. And then Ian's like, okay, what if I don't? And then Jimmy's like, yo, I'll kill you. And Ian's like, you know what? Fair enough, man. I'll be Satan for the night. So Ian then prepares all that. And he's like, well, shit. If this doesn't go well, I need to get this stuff with Samson sorted. So he gives... he's preparing Samson to, like, euthanize him. You know, Samson comes back, he's like, listen, I'm running out of opioid, like, morphine stuff. And these people are coming tomorrow night. I might not make it out, so I really just want to euthanize you to put you out of your suffering. You know, you're an alpha zombie, we get it, but you're probably in pain a lot. So he's going to do it. And then the most mind-blowing thing happened. Samson speaks. He looks at the moon and goes, moon. And Ian's like, what? So then, yeah, that confirms there is a possibility of the infected, or the alphas at least, having enough brain cognition to be able to speak, and possibly regain their entire ability to speak, which is mind-blowing. And again, I'm usually not keen on that sort of premise for zombie stuff, like, oh, of course you can cure them. It's such a cookie-cutter, like, premise. But for this, it actually worked, and the thing is, they made it interesting. That's what helped. They made it an interesting concept, and they did it in, like, a fairly realistic way. Ian starts treating it like a psychosis. So, like, again, the sort of adding a bit of realism to it. Again, it's not realistic, but adding a bit of realism to it. So yeah, he's like, oh shit, I'm not going to euthanize you, there's a chance. So he does like a whole bunch of antipsychotic drugs and all that sort of stuff. Samson runs off. He's like messing with water the next morning, and he's like, whoa, I'm like sort of conscious. I'm like regaining my ability to like have like free will and not just be rageful all the time. And then Samson goes into a train, and we see a flashback of Samson as a child, because again, it's been 28 years, so he was probably infected probably quite early on, actually. But yeah, he's in a train, and he has a dream about, or like a flashback in the train of when he was on there and being asked to have a ticket. And another mind-blowing scene, and again, probably my favourite scene out of the whole film, actually, happens, and Samson's like, I don't have a ticket. He made a full sentence. Holy shit. And the infected who have followed him onto the train because he's an alpha and they bring food and he brings food for them, they're like, what the he's a faker. He just spoke. So they start attacking him, and then obviously his rage kicks back in. He's fighting, he's chucking people out. And then one of the infected starts spitting in his face to infect him because they think he's not infected. And he's like, nah, I'm good, chief. Chucks him out the window and everything. It's a crazy scene. Great scene. Again, probably my favourite in the whole movie, actually. Because it, again, shows more of the what's the word I'm looking for? The potential of these infected people. Where they could use their rage powers and stuff for good. But then still be able to speak and be civilized. So coming out towards the end of the film now. Again, one of my favourite scenes of the whole film. Again, probably my second favourite scene. Ian's like, well, time to be Satan then. Jimmy brings his colt and everything to the Bone Temple. And an Iron Maiden song comes on. I can't remember which one. Oh, wait, hold on. I can Google it. Oh, wait. It's the Number of the Beast, isn't it? Ian's like dancing. He's like getting into character. He's like spraying fire everywhere, making a ring of fire around the Bone Temple. Such a good scene. Such a good scene. Because everyone in the trailer, when they saw that part where like Ian's like, yeah, they thought he's going to be infected. And I thought as well, I was like, why would they show that in a trailer? But no, he was just pretending to be Satan. Jimmy's like, right, Father, give me my commandments. And basically what Ian was meant to do was like give commandments, which means basically the fingers will follow Jimmy no matter what, so he can get away with all this stuff and not be questioned. But then once Ian realizes that, well, one of them is Spike, he's like, I gotta save this kid. And he knows how bad, he knows what a person Jimmy Crystal is, and he's like, yeah, I can't in my right mind let Spike continue living like this with this man. So he's like, I need a sacrifice. Such a big brain move. And Jimmy's like, whoa, that wasn't part of the deal. What sacrifice? Who? And he's like, you. Let's crucify you. I need a sacrifice. And again, because the Jimmys believe that is Satan, it's like, oh, we better follow his advice then. And Jimmy's like, whoa, don't be doing this. And then this is where the Jimmy's cult kind of falls apart for me, like I said earlier. They go down extremely easily. Like, at the end of the first film, you saw them fight like Power Rangers, but then these guys are getting killed by this one red jacket girl with just a quick little stab, a surprise stab. It's like, whoa, really? And it's like, come on, I want like a good old proper fight scene with them, but like, no, I guess not. But oh well. It's whatever. It's not a massive thing. It's a little nitpick I have. But unfortunately, Ian is stabbed. Really unfortunate, actually, because he's becoming one of my favourite characters. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, Ian's not looking too good. He's got a knife in his stomach. He's definitely not making it out of this one. And the red shirt Jimmy's like, yo, I can do one last thing for you. Let's crucify Jimmy, the Jimmy Crystal. And they hang him upside down. Obviously, he's got an upside down cross. And it looks brutal. But the thing is, he 100% deserved it. It was great, like, karma for that character. It's like, wow, you 100% deserve that. You are an absolute monster. You needed that. You needed to die like that. So, yeah. That was him gone. And then Kelly, the red shirt Jimmy reveals her name to be Kelly. I really should just use her name from the beginning of this video, shouldn't I? That made it a lot simpler. And Spike and Kelly leave off together away from the Bone Temple. I thought it was going to end there. Because I was like, cool. Ian's almost dead. Jimmy's screaming in pain because he's crucified. And I imagine Spike and Kelly are going to go back to the Holy Island, which is what I imagine they'll do in the next film. At some point. But then Samson comes across. I was like, yes, Samson. I thought he was going to kill Jimmy. He doesn't. He doesn't kill Jimmy. I thought, because again, he's like on the cruise, he's on a cross. He's an easy target. I thought his rage would like peak back up. It's like, oh, I'm going to kill you now. No. Samson comes to Ian, is like, oh, I can't remember what he said exactly, but it's something along the lines like, I'm sorry, Ian, or something. And he picks Ian up as he dies to take him away. Jimmy's still crying in pain. And, yeah, Samson doesn't become rageful. He just picks him up and takes him away. Again, not seen in any other infected. He is probably going to give him a burial. I imagine that's what he's going to go do. It's crazy. Honestly, it was so fascinating to watch this infected gain so much cognition. It was so fascinating. And then the scene, which I knew was definitely coming at some point. Jim. Fucking Jim. Jimmy, Jim, Jamie, Jim. Fucking other J fucking names. There's so many J names. They need to stop this. But yeah, Jim's character with, I imagine, Selena and his child. Right? Like Selena from the first movie and, you know, Jim's child. Maybe. I don't know. But what we learn is that Jim is actually a history teacher at a little community, probably. Because he's like hosting a test. And she's revising for it. And he's helping her revise for it. But we don't see Selena or, what was the other girl's name in the first movie? The daughter of that guy who died. Can't remember her name. But anyway, they aren't there, which I thought was weird. And then they see Kelly and Spike running away from infected. And Jim's daughter's like, yo, should we go help them? And he's like, yep, okay. And the In the House in a Heartbeat theme starts playing, which is Chef's Kiss. So yeah, that's how you know it's gonna be peak. That's like we're heading towards like the next film being like 28 years later, Endgame. Like we got Jim back, gonna be a badass and save Spike and Kelly. And I imagine again they're gonna go back to Holy Island and see Jamie because they need to explore like the baby, like Isla. She's born from an infected. So yeah, that was 28 years later, the Bone Temple. Very fascinating film to watch. I loved what they did with the infected. I loved the villains. They're very intimidating, and the gore was so uncomfortable to watch, but that doesn't mean it's bad. That means it's probably very good, actually. And, yeah, I had, after explaining the entire plot to my mum, because she fell asleep in the recliner seats that I bought, we left the cinema. Didn't see an after-credit scene, unfortunately, because I expected one, because Marvel has ruined all media and has an after-credit scene now in every film after the MCU. But no, there wasn't one. But I'm really, really looking forward to the last one, because this is apparently going to be a trilogy. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I don't know when it's coming out. I mean, they didn't film it back-to-back like the other ones, so I imagine that might be coming out maybe next year, maybe, possibly. Or maybe in 2027, 2028. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. So, yeah, if you haven't gone to see it, it's not just DLC. I mean, I'll spoil everything in this, but again, if you haven't seen it and you just think, oh, it's just going to be DLC or something, or it isn't a full film, it is a full film and it's very good. When it comes to my rankings, I still think 28 Days Later is my favourite. There's 28 Years, then 28 Years Bone Temple, then Weeks Later. Not to say Weeks Later is bad. Again, very good film. It's just, I think that's my ranking. But I mean, I might go watch the Bone Temple again, maybe, because I really like that film. It might move up in my rankings past the first 28 Years Later. I don't know. My parents thought it was worse than the last one, but I don't know. I don't really know. I like all the films, to be honest, and I liked what they did with the Infected. This probably had the most interesting look at the Infected in the whole series. Yeah, sorry for that. That went on for way too long. My recording's been on for now for 42 minutes. I hopefully can trim this down to a decent size. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. See you later, alligators. Bye.